This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
What's up guys, I got a brand new video for you today, and today we're gonna do some low light tests between the A7IV and the A7S III and just see how well the A7IV kind of stacks up to the A7S III in low light, since the A7S III is supposed to be the low light king. And you've probably seen some of the photos and video in my review, but this is the video we're shooting right now. So this is gonna be a little bit more comparisons between the two. So it's not gonna be a long video, but we're just gonna get some tests. Both of them are 12,800. I love that they like have buttons all in the exact same spot too. They feel like the exact same camera in my hand. ISO 6400 on both cameras, shooting 10-bit 422 XAVC-SI.
Most of the tests in this video you're going to see are all done in A7SIII tone, and that's because the cameras have such different dual native ISOs and S-Log3 that this is the easiest way to compare the two in high ISO. So in saying that, when you're not shooting an S-Log3, you can actually see the gain when it gets to its higher setting switch over around 2000 and 2500 between these two cameras, so they're actually pretty similar when you get around that range. When it comes to the physical build of these two cameras, the only difference is that the A7S III has exposure compensation markings where the A7IV doesn't, and the A7IV has that new lever to switch between photo, video, and S&Q.
This is ISO 12,800, 70 millimeters. I gotta say we're shooting in cine tone too. That looks pretty good for 12,800. I mean, obviously I don't have it on the computer yet, but the back of the screen looks pretty clean. Okay, so here's the native ISO and S-Log.
I didn't do a lot of tests in S-Log3 because it's hard to compare the two because their highest dual native ISO is so different. The A7IV is 3200 where the A7S III is 12,800. So to get the proper exposure on the A7S III, I actually had to bump the shutter speed up quite a bit in order to get proper exposure to match the A7IV. That's why the A7S III is better in low light if you're shooting S-Log3, because you have that higher ISO range.
All right, well again, I'm doing the same thing. They're both in their native ISO right now. So 3200 and 12,800, they should look almost exactly the same. And it's funny because if I put the A7S III into ISO 3200, it's gonna look like trash. Okay, so this is ISO 3200 on both.
Both of these cameras have dual native ISO and S-Log3, and it's 3200 ISO for the A7IV and 12,800 for the A7S III. So when you're actually shooting at ISO 3200 on the A7S III, it looks way noisier. You're better off shooting at 12,800. I'm also zoomed in at 70mm using active stabilization. That's why it looks kind of choppy.
Yeah, so far, the screen looks better on the A7S III by a little bit. Only on like the viewing angle, right? And there's a little bit more contrast on it as well. So I'm way underexposed here. I shouldn't be using S-Log. S-Log's not that good when it's in super low light.
At ISO 3200, both of these cameras are excellent. They're nice and clean, all the way up to ISO 6400. When you get to ISO 12,800, you start to see a little bit more noise on the A7S III and the A7IV. But they both have lots of detail and the color's great, and they're actually pretty similar at ISO 12,800. I did do some low light autofocus tracking here, and you can see the A7 IV jumps to the eye faster than the A7S III, so it does have a little bit better autofocus in low light compared to the A7S III, and it should because it's got a newer autofocus system, but they both did a really great job. No issues here. Here's a few words from today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes for creatives just like you, and right now is the best time to explore new skills, deepen existing interests, and get lost in creativity. With Skillshare's online classes, you never know what you're going to find. So maybe you're thinking of learning how to get better at filmmaking, or maybe you want to understand storytelling a little bit better. Well, there's tons of classes that cover those topics, just like Cinematography Basics, Understanding Filmmaking Style by Zach Mulligan, or Low Budget Filmmaking, Tips and Tricks by Maddie Brown. So I just started a new class on branding, and I've been terrible at figuring out what my brand is. You know, it's something I've kind of struggled with for a long time, but I'm actually learning a lot in Kate Aaron's new class called Personal Branding, Crafting Your Social Media Presence. I thought that I would mention it because it might be something that you're interested in, and if it is, it's something you should check out. These classes will help you learn from the ground up with an easy step-by-step layout, kind of like chapters in a book. All classes are curated and have no ads, which is amazing, and that's going to keep you focused, you know, wherever your creativity takes you. And when you join, you can also check out Skillshare's live classes, and you can experience real-time inspiration as you connect with popular teachers while you're watching and working alongside other members. So the first 1,000 subscribers to click the link in the description will actually get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can actually start exploring your creativity today. Thanks, Skillshare. Back to the video.
And I'm gonna crank this, man. We're gonna go 20,000 ISO. Okay, I'm now at 20,000 ISO on both cameras. We're in pretty low light here. I mean, it looks good on the back of the screen.
Up to 20,000 ISO, they're actually almost exactly the same when it comes to noise, and the A7 IV actually has more detail, and that's because of that oversampled 4K. So after looking over all these test results, I'd say that the A7 IV actually competes really well with the A7S III at high ISO, all the way up to 20,000 ISO. Beyond that, the A7S III actually pulls ahead. But that said, because the A7 IV is oversampled 4K, if you use noise reduction, you've got a little bit extra detail there. It might end up competing with it and looking better. All that said, if you are shooting S-Log, the A7S III is better at high ISO.
Yeah, so thanks for watching the video. That's some low light comparisons between the A7S III and the A7 IV. We had some interesting findings. The autofocus seemed to do better on the A7 IV in low light, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give it a thumbs down twice. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. See you guys in the next one. Does it have my eye?
Yeah, it's on your eye.
Okay, you were like this though. You had a hood up and it was dark.
Yeah, they're both going the same.
They still see my eye?
Yeah. Yeah, they're jumping back and forth. Yeah, both of them are doing your face. Face. One got lost. Face. Eye. Yeah, both are eyes. Yeah, they're pretty much almost identical.